Okay, hello and welcome to number two episode of CX Unplugged Commerce Edition. I'm your host Brent Leary, and I should say good morning or good afternoon or good evening because we know there are people listening from all over the place. So welcome and thank you for joining us. And I wanted to say this is great because this is our second episode. And I want to make sure we get 15 minutes of good stuff in, and we have with me today Morais, who is the Global Industry Director for Consumer Industries for SAP. Maria, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here today and to talk to you about commerce, which is a topic I love.
Absolutely. And so we have a lot to get to. I'm going to put up a couple of kind of starting points for us, and then we're going to dive into the conversation. So you actually helped me with this. So we're going to pick up a couple of stats that talk about kind of what's going on right now. We're in the middle of the holiday shopping season, lots of things going on. These two bullet points kind of tell part of the story. This is from Adobe Analytics. They said that on Cyber Monday, $10.84 billion worth of sales were made online in the US. That happens to be the biggest one-day online shopping event ever in the US. And we already hit the $100 billion mark for the shopping season. And they say that happened 9 days earlier this year than it did last year. So sounds like, good stuff. Now let's go to the kind of other side that talks about the mixed messages we're getting here. 38% of UK consumers say they were interested in planning to buy something online, and that's actually down from 51%. So that's not the direction that we saw, at least in the US. And then the other part of that is they really plan on spending a lot less. Black Friday spending will decline 20% year over year. So the US said one thing, kind of UK said another. But what do you say? What do you see when you look at these kind of results?
I think this is fascinating, and I'm sure if we wanted, we could put here different stats, even saying other things, right? It depends on the source and what you're looking at. Of course, they may all be right. Actually, it may just be a question of which angle you're looking for. I mean, from my point of view, definitely in Europe, UK, we see in this side of the world, which is where I happen to be. I'm in London. We are seeing definitely a concern with looking at businesses not just from a decreased price type of perspective. Promotions are perhaps being less exciting for retailers in this side of the globe, and there's definitely big efforts in terms of developing services and ways to serve customers online and in store that go beyond just decreasing price, perhaps. And you tell me, but my experience with working with our customers in US tends to be a lot more around promotions. There's a bit more of that. So I think there may be a regional effect here, but it may also be that we are looking at, on one side of things with PwC, we're looking at overall how much you've made on a particular day, Cyber Monday. And then when we look at the PwC stats, we're looking at actually Black Friday, right? So there's maybe Black Friday is becoming less popular, but Cyber Monday can be more popular. So it may be one of those cases. But I think the entire discussion around promotions and adding value in online and in-store experiences with that go beyond price. That's an interesting one. We should. What do you think of that?
You know what? We talked to Nuno Pedro last week, and a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how every day is like going to be $1 billion day online in terms of shopping. It's not just going to be focused on one day. It's going to be spread out, even though that was a big number. But the other thing that kind of came to mind was the idea of discounts. When you think of the holiday season, people think of discounts. But from a retailer standpoint, it seems like, discounts are good, but that's not the only part of the customer experience that they could actually kind of maneuver around to get more attention, get more companies or consumers to buy, and get more repeat customers. Maybe you could talk about, instead of discounting, what can these folks do in the heat of the battle right now from a customer experience perspective to get those folks in and at least to their page and convert beyond just the pricing aspect?
I mean, it really, retail is such a huge industry, and there are so many different segments. There are certain subsegments in retail that cannot really afford to do promotions and discounts because the margins are so little already. And this conversation has been going on in the industry for a while. I mean, if I look at average monthly orders, for example, according to the Economist Intelligence, we're talking about an increase of 15% in the period between June and August, compared with the beginning of the year between January and March 2020. Although across all of the channels in retail, we're really looking at a decline of 9%. So in my point of view here is we've been seeing the trends of stores growth being really slow and online sales growing in all of the businesses. What 2020 made really evident is that the revenue coming from stores declining in the way that they declined for the reasons we know didn't really catch up for the increase that we saw online. And so if on top of that we make discounts, and I mean, I understand the pressure that some of the retailers have, and that is called overstock, which is calculated in 2019, we had around $400 billion of overstock. In 2020, with what happened, can you imagine this number? I mean, I don't know the stat yet because we are still finalizing this year. But if we had $400 billion in overstock in 2019, what may have happened in 2020? So the pressure is there. And it seems a quick thing to just create a discount and try to get rid of stock you have. The issue is this can have consequences for the industry in the long term. We've seen in many segments like fashion, for example, a huge discussion around all of the fashion brands and retailers really trying to move away from this, because that way you never sell your price, your product full price. So when you ask me about what can they do, provide an experience. Being, there's two things. There's on one side, if you are going more into the luxury retail side of experience, really providing concierge services in store, really digitalizing the store, bringing unified, having the commerce at the center of everything, but digitalizing the store, empowering store assistants to have product information data, enabling omni-channel services like the ability to order in store, ship to home, or order online, collect in store. In some cases, curbside pickup may be definitely one of the ways of that collection if there's a lockdown period or something like that. So that's one side. But most importantly is the fulfillment, this last mile element, the ability to I cannot tell you how many journeys we look where these type of things are not really aligned yet. Customers need to know at every single point in time where the order is, and if there's an order made and it says next day delivery, I mean, make sure that as a brand, if you fail that you inform your customer and compensate the customer for that. That visibility is key.
And some of these things just sound so common sense, like that. You need to know these kind of things to help with the experience. But let's talk about, so we're doing a show called CX Unplugged Commerce Edition. So we know commerce is playing a bigger part of the overall experience. But let's talk about the commerce part of it in terms of something that you talk about a lot, headless commerce. Where does that fit into all this?
Well, I think headless commerce is definitely something that all brands should be looking at, because it's really the idea of decoupling the front end gives so much more flexibility in terms of the experience you can provide in your web shop. And we have actually a very interesting case with FitFlop. So it's a shoe retailer in the UK, and in 2018, so quite a long time ago, it seems. 2018, they went live with our with commerce, and they've decided at the time it needed to be headless. And at that point, I remember being in a conference with their with the head of e-commerce and chief digital officer, and they were saying that they went live with headless commerce. The flexibility was so big that they were able to, in the year that they went live with this new possibility, this new experience, they were able to make the targets they had for 2021 in 2018. Wow. Isn't that impressive?
That is extremely impressive.
I think headless commerce, giving flexibility to the teams that run the commerce experience, the marketing experience, it's so key. I think all brands should really be looking into this, because I mean, it helps to sell more, faster, and better.
I just I like the fact that, you know, we're talking beyond the pricing piece of this. We're talking about things that increase engagement, and hopefully that engagement leads to good engagement, which leads to some conversions. You talk about becoming a digital first company. How can the kind of these traditional bricks and mortar kind of businesses start to really think about being a digital first company, even though we know they can't be a digital native?
Yes, if you were not born digital, you're not a digital native. But many businesses that started with a bricks and mortar type of experience have been for more than a decade now making the transition to digital. But it's interesting how you put it, right? It's not. It was not very common to hear a business talking about being digital first. I mean, we had a few of our customers in retail worldwide talking about being digital first, but coming from a bricks and mortar background. And effectively what they were doing, it's really about the way that you have your company structured. So team structures play a huge role, and how you incentivize, I mean, what success looks like in a retailer that it's digital first. It looks different from what success looks like in a more traditional bricks and mortar type of business. So there's a reevaluation of business model, and as much as possible, moving more into a more circular economy type of business model, where there's, for example, if you're a brand retailer, having, you know, what do you do with the rest of your collection, and providing opportunities for secondhand, for example, sales as well. I mean, we've seen all sorts of creative things happening in that side, but really during 2020, so many businesses are coming to us and saying, we are in the transition to digital first. It's not an omni-channel project anymore. It's not about improving customer experience only. It's about, we want to be a digital first business. And so how do we get there? And I think that's really a huge change that we have from 2020. And even though we are getting back to, I mean, vaccines are becoming available, we are moving to a more, let's say, you know, a better time than what we had over the past few months. But definitely being digital first is not going away, because businesses are really trying to make that transition. And I think that's exciting. But that is a reevaluation in terms of the team structures, incentives, the ability to work from home, even if you are a shop assistant, for example. We've been working on some use cases for some of our retailers. And so, yeah, let's see. I'm excited about what 2021 is going to bring, and particularly how we are taking this now to the next level and connect the store, because that's really all that at the end of the day. If you're a digital first business, that means your store is digital and it's part of the experience. We're not talking about closing stores. We're talking about digitalizing them.
Absolutely. And it almost like, you know, digital first almost makes your work experience with people working, you know, in various locations in their home, almost makes them mirror the customer's experience, because they're in their homes buying stuff. And now your company is in, you know, working employees are in their homes working together collaboratively. And that kind of makes everything kind of feel like it's on an even keel. So that's really interesting times here. Maria, this has been great. I can't believe this time went so fast, but this has been awesome. Maybe a 30-second, what do you expect the end of the shopping? What do you expect us to be talking about after we get through this holiday season?
Well, I think 2021, we will be talking about loyalty a lot more, customer retention, how to bring these customers to get um, become loyal customers of a good experience with a certain brand. I think loyalty is a big theme for 2021, and definitely the store and all of the new technologies that can improve the customer experience in this unified commerce world. I would be expecting a lot more coming on that. Definitely AI as well is a big theme. The utilization of artificial intelligence in customer service, but really not just automation for the sake of automation, really empowering the retailers, the users of, being that marketing department, commerce department, customer service agents or shop assistants, everyone to really have access to a unified and personalized view of the customers they're serving, but whenever possible and with the help of artificial intelligence, of course, as a way to make them all more efficient. I think that those are the themes for 2021. I'm really excited about what's coming, and I think we will have a great year next year.
We deserve a great year next year, so let's hope we get it. And Maria, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you guys for checking this out. We will be back next Friday at the same time. We hope to see you then.